Welcome back everyone. I'm resuming the playthrough, my maiden playthrough of this deck chosen by you guys, the Tori Hanzo deck. Alright, just to give a recap of what has happened so far. Agenda point score, he's leading 5-1, although my 1 is a House of Knives, but he's on match point now. He is playing a quest completed silhouette with Central Breakers, all of them out already, and a Magnum Opus economy. On my side, I have my 2 central servers. I start thickly. HQ costs 7 credits to break through. R&D costs 8 credits to break through, and HQ has a Caprice on it. I also have a rather useless remote, and Archives is lightly iced. It's my turn. I decide that I really need to step up the gas, so I put the House of Knives in the remote. I feel quite safe about this. Even if he inside jobs again and I lose the Snowflake side game, remember that he cannot break the inner Snowflake on my remote, he will not win the game. The House of Knives will bring him up to 6 points, so that's fine. This is why I chose to keep the Philotic in my hand instead of scoring that instead. Alright, now it's his turn. He decides to feign into HQ. Feign means that he bypasses both pieces of ice. I'm not exactly sure why he wants to do this, because he still has to win the side game. I applied 1 net damage to him via House of Knives and took out his alias. And the problem with Feign is that it still has to go through side Caprice. So even if he wins the Caprice side game, he cannot trash Caprice. And of course, in this case, he lost the side game. So I didn't really see the point of that, especially since he was not going to quest complete. He only has 2 clicks left. What he actually wanted to do here was, if I'm not wrong, to emergency shut down my Mamba. That would have been really treacherous for me. Luckily, the side game failed on his part, so he didn't get to play emergency shutdown. Alright, so I do score my second House of Knives, so now I have 5 net damage tokens. He does a HQ run and breaks through for 7 credits. It is very expensive, although he can recuperate that amount of credits pretty quickly with Magnum Opus, so I'm always on my toes. This Caprice Nisei is working overtime right now. Once again, we play the side game, and I deal 1 net damage to him, trashing his duplicate doppelganger. I do win this side game because I bid 2 credits, and he cannot, and he doesn't want to pay 2 credits to end the run. For the side game. Alright, I finally draw into my first advanceable item that is not an agenda, Cerebral Overwriter. But I already discarded my Mushin'd earlier because they were clogging up my hand. So I cannot play Mushin'd just yet. Instead, what I do is to install the Jackson in the remote. Hopefully that will bait a run on the remote. Otherwise, well, a protected Jackson is always good for me to dump agendas, because the moment he trashes Caprice on HQ, you can be very sure that a lot of nasty things are going to happen to my hand, and I don't want to have agendas flooded in there. Alright, back to he passes the turn to me. He spends this turn recuperating. So I power draw with Jackson, and I drew into Mushin. So immediately I throw the Cerebral Overwriter on the table. I trash Komainu because it's too expensive to res. Notice that I'm very low on credits now. And my event-based economy, operation-based economy is mostly used up already. So I need to be very frugal on my credit expenditure right now. On the bright side, because I have an over-advanced Cerebral Overwriter on the board, it means that I can now, Trick of Light is now enabled. I can start scoring agendas from hand. Back to the game. HQ is now currently under siege, and it's as if an enhanced login protocol is on the table, because he's throwing all the HQ run events at me, even though there's clearly a Caprice Nisei waiting for him at the very end. I can't blame him for that, because it costs him 7 credits to run through every time. He doesn't want to make a normal run before throwing a Siphon, knowing that I could have another Caprice in hand and can easily just res it. So I guess he's doing the right thing, but too bad he fails the side game again, and his account Siphon is wasted once again. It was very important for me for this particular run to fail, because had he successfully siphoned me, I wouldn't have been able to fire off my Cerebral Overwriter. He would have ran it, trashed it, and defused my Trick of Light battery once more, which is the last thing I ever want for this deck. So very, very thankful that the Siphon failed, because yes, that was a very key turning point in the game. Okay, it's not a turning point. I'm already down in the dumps, but had that Siphon landed, I would have lost the game. No question. Alright, so I continue power drawing with Jackson because I need money. It's better to power draw with Jackson than to click for credits, because I can hit a celebrity gift, which would bring me into very healthy range. Alright, so he tries to run HQ again. I'm not going to let him get through for just 7 credits, so I put a Snowflake on HQ. Now, it took me a long time to realize this, but Snowflake is actually an insane piece of ice against his particular deck, because it costs Breach 4 credits to break through a single Snowflake, by virtue of it being strength 3. That's the same number of credits used to break an Eli. Can you believe it? For Corroder, it will cost 2 credits to break Snowflake. Breach, it costs double that, so I'm exploiting that. And of course, he fails the side game. So once again, he's wasting lots of credits getting through my server. He did win the side game on Snowflake. He chose to let me fire it off, and he succeeded with that. But that actually worked against his favor, because he still had to deal with Caprice at the end of the day. Alright, I joined into a hedge fund. Awesome! I have money. So since I have money, I can afford to advance my Cerebral Overwriter. This is crucial. There are 4 tokens on it now, which means that it could be a run-in. No, of course not. But this means that I can double Trick of Light outfit, which means I can score a Nisei from hand. That would be huge. Yes. Alright, so far you realize that his strategy is very, very focused on getting into HQ. He needs to get into HQ to enable his most powerful cards, namely Account Siphon, Emergency Shutdown, and yeah, quest completed. But he's not getting into HQ, and that is severely destroying his plans. In the meantime, I fast advanced Philotic. I decided that it's not safe to leave a 2-pointer in my hand. Yeah, I cannot let him win the game outright just by 1 HQ access. So I scored a Philotic and deal 2 net damage to him. I managed to snipe another one of his emergency shutdowns, so this is pretty important. I don't have the most money. If he shuts down my Mamba, it would be very expensive to re-res it. So I'm keeping him out of HQ at all costs. One limitation of his deck is that, unlike the silhouette decks that I built, he does not run Sneak Door Beta. A reason for that is because he doesn't have enough memory, but not being able to apply Archive's Pressure is a huge problem of his deck that he's definitely regretting now. If he has Sneak Door Beta, his game will be much, much easier, because he has 2 ways to expose cards and 2 ways to trigger emergency shutdown. So yeah, that's a mistake. Alright, in the meantime, I finally get around to using Tori Hanzo. Tori Hanzo is now on HQ. You want to put Tori Hanzo in the same server as Caprice, because every time they fail the side game, yeah, they will take 1 brain damage and life goes on. Alright, in the meantime, he runs through R&D and breaks all the ice, paying 5 credits and 2 clicks. And this is where I started fearing for my life. I know there are 2 more Nisei agendas in the deck of 15. If he hits either of them, it is game. So, he sees the Trick of Light. Alright, I need to protect my R&D. I draw into another Nisei agenda, and I decided to install the other Caprice that I had in my hand into R&D. As I said, it's coming back to bite me now. Yeah, R&D is vulnerable. And since he decided that it wasn't worth it to break through the Caprice Nisei on HQ, he went for R&D instead. He doesn't want... This is not ideal for him, because he does not have multi-access on R&D. But I am scared enough that I cannot let him even get a single access, because I know that there are very few cards left in R&D. I know that he is on match point. So I had to trash the HQ Caprice and keep him out of R&D with the other Caprice Nisei. And yeah, good luck with that. Now that Caprice is off HQ, yes, all hell breaks loose. Now I'm actually opening up a lot of options for him. The only solace is that he cannot win through a HQ run. Okay, actually he can, but now I've won the game. Yep, because he didn't run last turn. I double trick of light my Nisei agenda out, and that brings me, nope, not to 7 points, only to 6 points. I thought I won the game there. I called GG too early, and then he pointed out to me after that I only had 6 agenda points worth of agendas. So the game goes on. I'm not Harmony MedTech. Oops, miscalculation. That was a huge mistake. I wouldn't have done that. I would have played the hedge fund first, obviously. Yeah, I was. That was a very embarrassing moment. But that aside, basically, in the current state of the board, he can run my HQ, but he will not win the game unless he wins the side game on the future perfect. So that is the last line of defense that I have going for me. He can steal the House of Knives and go up to 6 points. He cannot win outright unless he wins the side game. That's what's protecting me. And sure enough, he runs. I wasn't really prepared for this, but well, there's nothing I can do now. I can only sit and hope that, yeah, raising the Caprice on R&D was to, I raised the Caprice on R&D knowing that I would win the game in 2 turns because I could fast advance a Nisei, but oops, I didn't win the game. So yeah, he made a successful run through and scored my House of Knives. So now he's at 6 points. So at this point, I start doing my agenda count. All 3 House of Knives have been scored or stolen. 2 Niseis are gone, and my Philotic is gone. There are 3 future perfects. He stole 1. I have 1 in hand, and I have 1 in archives, as you can see. So the only agenda left in my deck is a single copy of Nisei MK2. This is the one agenda that I'm looking to score. I could try to score future perfect, but that's much harder. Also because I've expended most of my trick of lights, fast advance is not an option. Now what I have to do is to score from the remote. Hopefully I can find another copy of Caprice Nisei so I can start scoring from the remote more safely. Otherwise I'll just have to rely on the Snowflake side game as a pseudo Caprice Nisei. Alright, so yes, we are both on 6 points, but do take note that I do have a scored Nisei agenda, so that is providing me extra buffer space. In the meantime, I draw more cards, hoping to see a Caprice Nisei, but more importantly, to enable Celebrity Gift next turn. So this is some foresight, planning ahead for my next turn for Celebrity Gift. I still need the money. If you notice, I still haven't fired Tori Hanzo off yet. That's because it's too expensive. He emergency shut down my Mamba earlier, so now I have to re-res it. This is what happens when I transfer Caprice to R&D. HQ becomes vulnerable and he can do all sorts of funny stuff like emergency shutdown. I do not like that. So, he makes a successful run through HQ. He accesses the Celebrity Gift, thank goodness. And he also has to access the Tori Hanzo. With 2 credits left, will he trash it? Let's find out. He sees the brain damage. It's like, no. I don't want brain damage. Let's get rid of that. Yep. So this actually does tell you that he is planning on running HQ again in the near future. Because otherwise, there's no need to trash Tori Hanzo. He's pretty low credits anyway. Now, he emergency shut down my Mamba once again. Very annoying. But since it's on HQ, once again, you can tell that he's going to look to attack my HQ. I then decide to Celebrity Gift for my turn to get money, and then install a 3rd piece of ice on the remote, so that more or less guarantee that he cannot win the game through running the remote. He could quest complete, which will be very annoying, but hopefully the Caprice on R&D will prevent that from happening. So now it's his turn. He gains lots of money. That's the right thing to do, because now I cannot safely score the future perfect. So what do? I look at his heap. Here I'm counting the number of inside jobs he has played so far. He has played 2 inside jobs, but he has 1 same old thing out. So I do take the risk. Install advance, my future perfect. And he knows it's there, and that it's probably my only agenda, because I Celebrity Gifted earlier. So now it's his turn. It's very important that he starts his turn with 10 credits, otherwise he probably has no hope of winning this game. With 10 credits, he has quite a few options open, but the question is, what is the correct move for him? He knows that, one possible route for him is to just try his luck on the remote server. He will have to eat the Mamba and my House of Knife tokens. I still have 3 of them. And win the Snowflake side game. But it's better than... And get past my Nisei token, yes. But it's better than Legwork because I saw my hand, I knew there were no agendas in there. I didn't have to re-res the Mamba. I let him through. After the game, he told me that what he should have done was to play account Siphon here using same old thing. He didn't have an account Siphon in hand, but he did have the same old thing. I told him that it wouldn't have mattered because I would have ended the run with the Nisei token. So you can see how versatile this Nisei token is, especially against someone who is run event heavy. Alright, he spends his second click to doppelgang onto archives. He didn't activate doppelgang here, but he will get the extra click back later. Now there is a future perfect in archives. However, he only has one credit left, when starting his run on archives. So all I needed to do was to bid 1 on the side game. I would get my 1 credit back, and yeah, he would lose the side game. Obviously. The only problem with this is that obviously he now knows that there is a future perfect in archives and he needs to go grab it. So he has 3 clicks left. He gains 2 credits. Now the correct play for him here would have been to run archives on his 3rd click. No. Yes, the correct play. No, yeah, he can't do anything here. Yes, the problem is that he only has 1 card left in hand, and I have a House of Knife token, so he cannot run through the Yagura and not break the net damage subroutine. So he had to click for Magnum twice before running on archives, and all I needed to do was to expend my Nisei token to stop him from to not even allow him to play the side game on future perfect, and then score my own future perfect to win the game. Well, that was a very, very long game. I analyzed the footage later. To my horror, this game took 55 minutes to play out. So this is why I had to divide this game into 2 parts. I think this particular game plays out very differently from how I would usually play. Because he's so aggressive, you saw how he ran so often early on and fetched so many agendas. I had to ice up centrals a lot and even dedicate Caprices to my centrals. Usually, I would put Caprice on the scoring remote. That is my ideal start. That's how I would ideally play. Because my agendas are not very good for Trick of Lighting Off, so I need to score my agendas manually under the cover of Caprice and Tori Hanzo to deter them by pinging them for brain damage. This game was different because I knew that he cannot get into my remote server unless he expends his tutors playing inside job. Only against the Central Breakers Criminal Suite do I feel remotely safe scoring a future perfect behind 3 pieces of ice without a Caprice Nisei. At the end of the day, he just got rather unlucky with the side games, and this is not a very good matchup for him simply because he is so reliant on getting through all 3 central servers with impunity. Against almost every other corp, there is nothing that the corp can do to stop Silhouette from getting in with her central breakers that can break through all ice so long as she has enough money. Me, on the other hand, there's Caprice Nisei, and that's what completely killed his game plan. And I guess with a game plan that's completely reliant on getting into a particular server, in this case, he was so focused on getting to HQ and not having any other means to pressure other servers. That was his biggest downfall. He spent so many resources trying to get into HQ. The only time he managed to get in was when I decided to trash Caprice Nisei off HQ myself, which was a mistake on my part. So yeah, that is something to consider when you're building your runner decks. If you are too reliant on getting into one server, it's very easy to defend against that. That being said, he did try his best to play. He just, as I said, got very unlucky on the side games. That's all I have. Thanks for watching. I will try to play this deck again, and hopefully I'll get to show Tori Hanzo off. But for now, thanks for voting and happy deck running. Goodbye.